one day it'll come
Goes
up.
quickly.
And we're live. Good afternoon, councillors, good afternoon, staff, and everybody, and for those that are watching online, and welcome to the Service and Organisation Committee on the 7th of July 2020. Before we begin, I'd like to pay respects to the elders of the land upon which we meet, the Gubbi Gubbi or Kabi Kabi people, and pay respects to their elders past, present and emerging. We're all in attendance, so there's no apologies, no presentations or deputations today. So we'll get on with item 1, Go Noosa Christmas 1920 Peak Period Traffic Management Evaluation. Councillor, any questions for staff?
The Loop bus service. I note that it was the first time that you guys offered a free bus service at night,
Yes.
and it ends at 10 p.m. Was any consideration given to extend that time maybe to 11 p.m. to further accommodate the workers down in Hastings Street and within the Noosa Shire, and also to accommodate kids who are out and about at night?
Yep. So we did speak with Hastings Street Association about the time that it should end, and 10 o'clock was the time that they suggested for the initial trial.
Yep.
So I guess as we move forward into next year, we want to sort of try and we'll workshop this within a HSA and council to say, well, what should that time be next time? So the difficult thing for us is TransLink with their contracts is very difficult to get accurate data broken down hour by hour, because what would be great is to know how busy is it after 7 and how busy is it after 8, how busy, you know, what the demand is. Yep. To know, should it be less than 10 o'clock or should it be more than 10 o'clock? So that's where we have to keep working with TransLink to try and work where the best fit is for that. But,
Fantastic.
I know in the report there's consideration of a change of a time to be starting earlier though, with regard to part of one element of the service from 9 to 8 or vice versa. I can't remember which way it went.
yeah, the time, and it's so difficult to know when is a good time to start. You know, it could be, you know, year on year, there's different factors that relate to what makes it suitable.
So where there's an element as to whether people want to go down the beach or not.
Exactly, that's right.
Each year there seems to be a year-on-year improvement on the integrated package of initiatives that you offer, and that more and more people seem to be accessing this very busy precinct by a means other than the car, whether it be the free buses, pedestrian or cycling. And also, there was a 6% increase in cars accessing precinct, perhaps due to the wayfinding signage or the traffic control measures. But I'm very excited to hear that the next phase involves investigating a Noosa Woods to National Park shuttle bus, which would be a great add-on. How would that work, and who would deliver that?
So we're currently talking with TransLink about that as well. Just the whole idea: can they allow that within their network? Would they allow that as a service?
Would they operate it, Adam, or would they? You're saying they might allow a third party to?
So it would either be the Sunbus operator that already operates the network, but TransLink has to approve that. So we can't go to, you know, someone with a bus and can you run that service? So I'm not sure if you recall, we ran a report to council last year, went through the whole legal process. And so after all of that work, we basically know that we have to work with TransLink to get through this service. No, we've got a good relationship with their planners now, so they're assisting us to work out, you know, how can that work? Because we think a lot of people who probably want to go to the woods or the national park, they will continue to drive through.
Yes.
So unless you meet that potential market, in my opinion, personal opinion, you'll struggle to convert them from car users to public transport users. So we want to investigate, and we hope to bring that to council to consider that, of having the spit via Hastings Street, you know, some proximity to the information centre or the transit centre there, and out to the national park, and whether we trial that and see whether that has any improvement on the vehicles coming in as well. Obviously we have to see what the costs are and provide what, you know, benefits will be out of that.
Well, I notice there's an electric tuk-tuk services on a private side has taken up the opportunity to provide a service within that.
They do. I saw that. They have to wear helmets, and it's quite a. That would be
along the lines of what we were talking about with some sort of a
Yeah.
a service within that precinct.
It is, yeah. I think for the tuk-tuks, having to wear helmets, that would be a challenge as a public transport perspective. I mean, that's just the initial comments, but we'll bring that probably as a full proposal to council once we've negotiated with Translink on what can and can't operate as a service.
But we have already formally requested that permission back in June. I think we started
Yeah.
that process. So yeah.
And we also, as part of that MOU request that we put the report to council last year, so that negotiation is still occurring. And then all these little proposals would sit under that MOU where they help facilitate those projects. Yeah.
It's like a missing link, really.
It is, yeah. And it's such a busy link as well, that's where everyone's really trying to go. A large part of those visitors are trying to get to.
Yes.
Have we got any figures on how many people are actually catching the Perugian shuttle?
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in there.
So that would be on page...
I thought I saw it somewhere. I can't put my finger on it.
So it's just in the attachment
That's why I'm
one,
looking through the report and I thought there was something else.
table 2.
3. Got the total. Oh, okay, you've got the full breakdown.
Here, Joe.
Yeah, I haven't got the
On this.
What's on
Any reason why the numbers on that service dropped 13%?
We think it's because of the
Yeah,
loop.
that was it.
The loop.
Yeah, so a lot of people might have in the junction then just hopped on the loop instead of the 064 one going over the hill. Because that Perugian one would still have gone over Noosa Drive. So
That's what I was.
Yeah.
That's what came to my head. That's why the figures. I remember the figures were a fairly significant drop there of 13%.
Because the other thing, it's hard. We're reporting on a Christmas activity, so it's so late, obviously, in reporting on it. But we had obviously a lot of bushfires were going on around then, and so we don't know whether that was impacting people's travel behaviour around that. So, because it was on that third, yeah.
But there's still that Marucci service that operates down David Lane Way through Perugian.
The 620 service still runs,
Yeah.
but we think that might have been what's actually impacted on that run.
And that's why it's makes it a less cost-effective service, because it has to be a separate shuttle running from South Perugian into the junction of Hastings Street. But you rather work with Translink to use the existing, is it the 620 that comes up from Maroochydore, and once people get in on the bus within Noosa Shire, make that section of the travel free.
That would be the idea.
Yeah,
and we've said to them, look, we will pay you the amount that it costs to run this service.
Yes.
Just so you have the one bus.
Yeah.
So that we don't have to run a shuttle service.
You're running
because we've already got a service delivering there, unlike the people at Paroy that have a service that facilitates, don't have a free bus coming down from there because we've got that Nambour service or the Koran service coming down.
Yeah. We've gone as high as we can to try and get that change, and all we get back from Translink is until their ticketing system changes, they won't allow it.
Hopefully not too distant future.
Yeah, time frame for the ticketing system changing.
Probably years, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Amelia, can I hear anything from you?
Just a couple of questions.
Yeah.
The bus priority queue jump.
Yes.
Terrific initiative and seems quite simplistic.
It did.
You know, you just clear a lane and it's express.
Yeah.
There's a note that the problem with that was the illegally parked cars.
Yes.
Have you considered how to address that going forward? Because, it works.
So the things we noticed with that is that the queues, while we had the traffic control, didn't get as far as actually warranting the queue jump, like last Christmas. And the only way to deal with the cars parked would be to tow them.
Okay.
And so it was kind of we're doing a trial. What sort of style council did we want to be at the time? Did we want to be forceful and tow cars, or did we want to see what people's behaviour is in So we had all the signage and everything there, but they didn't obey. We even had traffic controllers trying to be there early in the morning and say, don't park here, but people would still park there.
Probably have to try and start a week or two earlier and paint a line, paint a temporary line or something, and say no parking in this area from this date or something to open that up to facilitate.
You'd have to see what you see in Brisbane, the full red zone.
I agree.
But then as a trial, we thought, well, that's going to be $20,000. Then you're going to take it up again and then the costs have started getting a little bit high towards that.
From a temporary sense, how do you make it temporary and still be able to be cost effective in
Exactly.
sort of having a temporary capacity?
Yeah. So.
I don't see Craig giving looking at any cheap options there.
No.
It's not,
But
unfortunately.
something worthy of community consultation at least at some stage, because again, I think simple way of addressing traffic congestion.
Yeah.
Well, again, it didn't actually trigger a point where we would have activated it anyway from what I'm
No, because we were sort of expecting if the traffic was getting beyond the bridge and beyond where the first bus stop is, that's the point when it becomes beneficial. But because it wasn't getting to that point, it wasn't banking up, because the traffic controllers could get the flow working, it might have seen as it was probably, not to say that other times it will, could be required, but at that Christmas it wasn't.
I want to compliment you on how responsive you've been in monitoring all these. It's got many moving parts.
Oh,
this Go Noosa
completely
initiative. I noticed that you're responding to the sense that in the post-COVID environment there may be different traffic behaviours, because you've put here in the report you're going to provide council with another report looking at recommendations for managing peak traffic periods for the remainder of 2020.
Yes.
So normally it's Easter and Christmas, but you're
That's right.
suggesting there may be other peak periods
Potentially.
as well as the Christmas period. What will be the trigger for that? And how are you going to monitor? How are you going to monitor that?
And I think that will be probably part of a workshop and further report to council.
Yeah.
Actually, every day I'm taking a screenshot. I'm a little bit late because of what the current traffic congestion is down in that location, and we could send to the workshop. Okay, what is an acceptable trigger point to bring in some of these initiatives? And so we go through all these things that we do over Christmas, and we weigh out, okay, which one can we bring in at short notice? We can't bring in a free bus quickly. We can't bring in the VMS boards, but we can bring in like the traffic controllers and a few of those other things. And we go, okay, they work effectively. We can, at a call's notice.
Well, again, are they those traffic controllers that we've trained?
They're all trained
in functional operations. Traffic controllers with a company that we can.
That's it. They're all on a panel.
Notice.
That's right. They're on a panel arrangement. At a call's notice, they've got all the instructions, and we can then agree. Okay, on these busy weekends, as it's getting warmer, there's good surf, good weather, whatever it is, and we can sort of go, okay, these are the weekends that we think
Dial up or dial down.
Dial up, dial down, and you can do that almost at a day's notice.
Did you have any more questions?
You have a turn, Tony.
No, you go. You go.
Well,
While he's on a roll.
Well, he's on a roll.
Look, I was going to jump to a related one, but when schools return, what can you tell us about the programs around facilitating alternative?
I'd love to talk about the school program stuff, but I haven't got it in this report.
No.
There's app improvements. There's decals going on down on the footpaths. The school, a lot of schools. I think we're up to 6 schools.
So we're doing the precinct approach. So we're doing the Noosaville State School and St. Teresa's. So that whole precinct, really intensively working with them. Renee's already met with both principals. They're all on board, and those two schools are going to actually collaborate as well. We're getting senior students involved and drama students to deliver out plays, which they can then deliver to the primary school. So it's a very exciting package that she's worked on.
So same as, we approached Hastings Street as a precinct.
Yes.
We didn't just say one mode to that location. It was a precinct consideration on all modes.
Yes.
The same thing's going to happen with the schools.
Yeah.
Walking, cycling, bus link, getting them involved.
Yeah,
it'll be great. Yeah.
Just quickly on the Noosa Heads Lions Park.
Yep.
I note that the park is open from 9 till 6, and there's been a reduction in the number of vehicles from 250 to 150, based on the fact that we're looking at a big drive market for Christmas. Is there the capacity to extend the hours, because a lot of young families hit the beach early, like 7, or earlier, because they want to get off before it gets really hot, especially in summer. So extend those hours. or B, extend the 150 back further up to the 250, which it was originally in the 2018-19.
Yeah, I'd probably consult with, obviously we have to consult with DNRM.
Yep.
We have to consult with the parks team, because I think the reduction was largely to tree damage.
Yep.
So the cars are parking in under the tree for the shade, which obviously the reason why they were doing that. And that's, they were saying that the trees were getting damaged, so we try to reduce those numbers. And I think that's probably something we'd have to come back to council and say, the reduction in the first place was because of these reasons. The time operation, we can talk to Lions Club and say, you know, can you bring it forward from 9 o'clock? I don't think the time would be an issue.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only thing, they are volunteers, so asking them to stay later, that would just be something logistically for them to
Or starting
recruit.
earlier.
Recruit more
So
volunteers.
they've got the capacity to deliver in that time.
Yeah.
Also note in there, because it's only the grassed area where we charge on, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's talk about actually bringing the bitumen car park in that area into the park car park, which would increase the capacity from 150 as far as paid parking goes, but decrease the capacity for other parking. So there's some thoughts around that sort of element there. I mean, if they're using the free shuttle bus and getting parking elsewhere to get in, might be a
Makes
way.
sense to be able to use that.
If revenue was an issue.
Yeah, so we've got a future workshop lined up. We haven't got the date set yet, but these are the things that we want to talk about in that, and then we'll bring a future report as well that covers all of that.
Just on that, there was also a mention of a broken pipe.
Yeah.
Was that what was the cause of that?
I'm not
I
sure.
think it was a
There was an irrigation.
water pipe, and they just thought it was something simple, but it was a little bit more elaborate than just. So, but it only affected it. I think it was still open 24 out of the possible 27 days.
Yeah.
So
The cars didn't cause the damage.
Okay.
Or
yeah, and they
anything,
just
but
sort of coned off that area.
And one of the losses, of course, if it rains, I mean, you know, that we do close the park. So
Yeah.
there's one other thing. What did you finish on? Sorry, the last question you asked.
I asked about the schools program.
Schools. Yeah, thank you. I knew there was a trigger in my mind to ask a question. With regard to schools, we've had one school in particular turn around and mention the fact that they don't have a good pathway network linking there. Have we looked at into the feeding into the pathways and cycleways review that we're undertaking as to what the needs are from schools with regard to pathway connectivity and what does and doesn't exist?
Yeah, so with that precinct approach, there's a survey going out to families, so they'll have an opportunity to
all
talk
schools
about.
are included in that, including schools in Karoi, for example.
No, so that we're taking just that precinct approach. So we'll work with those schools intensively and get that feedback probably for 1 to 2 terms or however 3 semesters, and then we can roll out to other areas. So it's not the whole.
So the walking cycling strategy would be picking up on some of that work, wouldn't it, Craig? If I could. So that's part of the walking cycling strategy that's looking at that
Just
pathway
whether
network.
it's coming from the work that we do in schools at the moment, or it's just coming out of the cycling.
There's a lot of interrelationship between, obviously our section
I
and
realise
Go
that if we're
Noosa
trying
and
to get kids, we're trying to get kids to school by alternate means and try and stop the vehicles around traffic. They obviously have to have the means of being able to walk and cycle to school safely. So.
One final question, Mr. Chair, from me. You've mentioned that 68% of survey respondents to the Go Noosa feedback survey, which is available on the website, were Shire residents.
Yeah.
Do we have any data that informs us how many bus passengers were Shire residents?
So most of the survey respondents were bus.
Oh, were they?
Yeah,
Okay.
they didn't have to be, but I think it was a very small percentage that didn't actually catch one of the free buses.
So most of the respondents were bus passengers.
Had caught a free holiday bus.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the intercept surveys were at the bus stop, for
Nice.
example, as they're getting off the bus.
And just some further analysis on that. So 354 surveys, 77 of those were hard copy surveys, so any randomly selected, and of those we had 71 that were actually Noosa Shire residents. So it's a very high use by residents.
Thank you.
And that's at Hastings Street where that's been picked up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anything further?
Just one query. In the consultation, it says that the Go Noosa initiative involved consultation and collaboration with lots of external bodies. I just note that taxi drivers and Uber drivers aren't included in that list. Is there any reason, given that they're probably the ones that are most directly impacted by Go Noosa?
No, we haven't really gone to the Uber drivers as such yet, to be honest.
Only because I just know
it's
a
a
lot
good
of
point.
residents in Noosa that make a sort of a secondary and some primary living out of driving as Uber drivers.
That's a good point. We
We do facilitate a drop-off
We do have
Yeah.
we have a drop-off zone.
Benefit from. What about taxi drivers? Do we
And taxi drivers were.
consultation with taxi?
I mean, they've got their taxi rank, and I guess it's an assume that they've already got their system and their processes set up. It's not a new taxi catching isn't a new process for accessing that area. But I think the Uber point is a good one to make. Yeah.
And just given that we live in a tight community, Adam, just great to involve anyone that may be directly or indirectly impacted by these.
We have had workshops with
whether the
Uber.
service is actually creating a negative impact on
Or positive, it could actually be the reverse. Absolutely. Yeah.
We have had workshops at a high level transport strategy level with Uber, like the managers of Uber, but not with drivers as such.
Okay.
So, but it's something that we can probably, through the contacts that we have,
Yep.
reach out and say, is there anything that they notice, like you say, as a driver that would make their role easier?
Yep.
Or make the role easier, or has there been an impact on, are they seeing less calls or same tax service, are they seeing less responses as well?
And we do, Suncoast cabs do deliver our flexi-link out to Boyne Point, and also the council cabs for the over 60s. So we do, talk to them quite regularly, so we get that.
And you're not getting any feedback from them?
No.
Okay.
Just one for me, the overall package seems to be working pretty well now. We've got all the different components. Probably the only one there that's probably not still hitting the mark is the rideshare app.
Yeah, that's right.
What's the plan there? It's sort of never really worked, has it?
No, because the funny thing with the rideshare is when the car parking's really busy, they got the free buses. And so
it's not busy, you've got a car park.
Exactly, that's right. And so I'm not sure what, at what point, whether that will improve or not.
And
you're afraid that if you don't think it's going to work, make the call. But it's the one for me that everything else has worked beautifully in that sort of process. And it's the one that's going, well, it's almost a catch-22. But as you said, when the demand is there, we've got the free buses, so why would you want to ride share? Because you can park anywhere and get in.
That's right.
And conversely, if it's not busy, well, you can drive in.
It'd only be if council were to make any other parking management changes down the future that might impact whether that's going to be, more patronised or not.
And Renee did actually do a door-to-door of shops on Hastings Street right before that peak period. So it's not for lack of
No, that's what I mean.
promotion.
It's still not. It just hasn't had the demand.
That's right. There might be other influences that affect that demand that we haven't reached yet. So.
Yeah, and speaking of apps, the Go Noosa app, further facilitation of that and further uptake of that. What have we got in mind with regard to the opportunities there? Marketing through Tourism Noosa, would they market to a particular area? The Go Noosa, the Go Noosa app is marketed with their marketing or anything along those lines? We
got a good relationship with Tourism Noosa, and they do mention that within their Visit Noosa website, which is good. I must admit, we thought we advertised it a lot. It was all on the buses and everything.
So you don't think the uptake was as good as it could have been?
No, exactly. And so we noticed on the survey responses that something like 40% or something noticed the app. And so we thought, right, okay, we're going to have to improve the product even more so that there's a word of mouth spread about it as well. Plus, actually do better marketing of that. Particularly now that we're adding in the schools and better, riding features and other things.
It doesn't become just. I guess I'm leading to it. Doesn't become just a holiday app. That it's a facilitation that can be utilised all year round.
That's right.
If it can be something that people, whenever they come to town, know that they can look at the parking regime and the buses and all the rest of it. It's there 24 hours.
That's right.
365 days a year.
Yeah.
You might get a.
That's right.
We get that uptake. The people load it anyway, and that's when the locals use it.
And when you have a novel, like a bespoke app like this as well, it probably takes time to sort of find the nuances of when it's used, when it's not used, analyse that, who's using it, why they're using it, and then slowly improve this, as you gather that information.
It might be worthwhile talking to Tourism Noosa to get their holiday or their accommodation providers to, when you send out a confirmation email, thanks for coming to stay.
Yes.
Don't forget
to come download the app, so they've got that information.
Download the app to get around.
Exactly.
That's the sort of thing I was leading to with Tourism Noosa.
And we did actually get little flyers for all the compendiums and the accommodation providers. So just every single line at the bottom. Oh, don't forget the app. So just keep that message.
So like with these days, if they're an app user, they're an iPhone or an iPad user, or a
tablet,
a smartphone user, and they're going to, have all their information with regard to the place that they've sourced or to stay at on on their phone and using that. They may not, competitors might be a thing of the past for a lot of people.
That's right. So we would randomly catch the buses as well and just ask people, oh, do you know about the app? Oh, yes, we do. Wouldn't say who we were, just to test, And they would say, yeah, we use the app.
Go on, you random person.
Yeah, and it's just like, we use the app and we know that, it tells us how long before the bus is getting to our stop outside of our accommodation, and we just walk down and we catch it. So
right, okay.
I do hear some good comments about it.
Right.
But we did also get the local sort of perspective. I don't need it because I live here. I know I don't really, so I guess there's that as well.
All right.
Can I just throw a suggestion, Adam?
Yeah.
So we're talking about the Go Noosa app, which I think is great, but I agree not a lot of people know about it.
Yeah.
Given that a lot of people travel to the national park because of surfing,
Yes.
and a lot of those people are always on Coastal Watch. Have you guys ever talked to Coastal Watch and talked to them about maybe a collaboration where you can actually see traffic, so that people that are coming into town that want to surf or go to Noosa National Park all of a sudden can sort of have a look at the traffic, actually visual. So rather than dots, it's visual. And then at the bottom there, maybe pay for an ad, say, jump onto the Go Noosa app for more parking information. But is that something that you have given thought to?
We have, because we do know that the congestion out there is obviously largely related to the surf. I guess we could talk to Coastal Watch and work out what features are there, can we bring in. To be honest, I actually use it myself with what we have, because you can look at when you click on the car button, it'll tell you how busy it is out at the national park location, and you can actually see which way is red, and so you'll know when it's red getting past Ben and Jerry's but not heading in, that everyone's leaving.
You're kidding.
And that's the time to go in. So,
So
the trick is
You've just told
getting that app into the
we're
surfing
live.
community.
I know. So, and that's the sort of thing, like once you sort of share the ways to use the app, you might get better uptake, for doing those things. So the feature, the capacity is there.
Great.
So it's just whether or not we educate people on how you can use it in that manner.
So all of that information is there 365 days.
It's already there
You're
now.
on the app, the national park is there, so the surfers, it'll be a great benefit to the surfing community to have the app and to monitor through the app.
And maybe that's something I'll take up with the World Surfing Reserve.
Well, surfing reserve. There's
Absolutely.
another way of promoting
That's right.
it,
Absolutely.
You want to come down to the national park, have your app for surfers.
Yeah,
Good idea.
I'm on their board, so I'll bring that up.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, terrific.
Nothing further?
No.
No,
Great.
Councillor Wilkie, Councillor Stewart.
Thanks, everyone.
Nothing further? All in
Bye.
favour?
Take a cup.
Very unanimously.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Alex.
See
Great
you.
work again, as usual.
Alex, how are you?
Alison, item 2, community disaster response and recovery grants for COVID-19. And our community development manager and director and team are all here.
The dynamic duo.
Questions?
I just had a question. The 27,000 in the recovery grants, and there was 140,000 with applications.
Yep.
So those people who missed out, is there an opportunity for them to reapply down the track, or?
So good news. Since we're in the reports, we had a whole heap of donations provided to us from Tozer & Co. and also from Rapid Clean. We had more donations provided to us than what we had written into the report. So everybody that was not recommended or were not recommended to the 2,500 that they had applied for, they also got their hygiene products as well.
Terrific.
Then we've also opening up round 13 as at tomorrow again, so people will have that opportunity to apply for a project. So projects involve events, programs or infrastructure, and the priority around those will be around that COVID-19 recovery as well.
Great.
So there won't be any financial hardship assistance available,
Yep.
but they'll be able to apply for different things.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's great.
So how fantastic that a couple of local companies were willing to donate to the local community, and I noticed that a couple of other companies have said they are welcoming community groups directly to approach them for assistance as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, community helping the community is
Absolutely.
is fantastic to see.
Yeah.
As a council, is there any opportunity to let these good deeds get noticed? Do we have like a humanitarian award or some type of recognition for these, what I call outstanding community citizens? As a council, can we do something?
we don't run an award program. In the experience of that in the past, it gets complicated. What we do is we like to provide recognition when something happens. So in this situation, we've provided some media coverage around it, so that at the point that the people have made the donation, they get that acknowledgement right there and then.
Not last Wednesday, wasn't it, Joe?
Certainly on the news.
So they were
on both.
Sunshine Coast Daily followed up as well. We're also following up. So David Tozer himself has set up a GoFundMe page, put $2,500 in his own money into that particular program. We will continue to follow that up through our Community Connect newsletters, Facebook, etc., promoting that, so that we can continue helping these organisations as well.
Yeah, terrific. Thanks, guys.
That's all right.
Anything further?
Good news story, well done.
Great story.
Thanks, Alison.
Well done for delivering all those donated items to the community, and providing them up. And I said, I know it's been a great lot of work to actually bundle all of those packages up and get the community groups into to receive that. So great effort from you and your team, Alison.
Just a logistical question: has all the material gone out to these groups?
Not quite.
Yeah. Have you got enough for?
So the organisations that have applied, yes, we've got enough. So we're getting obviously continual requests from other organisations that haven't applied. So that's where we're sending them to Bunnings or Officeworks.
I think it was fortunate that Kerry was away last week, because Alison managed to use her office and managed to get it all out before Kerry got back.
Full of toilet paper, hey?
And Joe, I even had Brett, packing boxes for me one day, and Joe was packing cars for me. So phenomenal team support around me as well.
Great work.
Yep.
Thanks, guys.
Yes.
All right.
Thank
move on.
Thank you, Alison.
I'll move it.
Thank you, Councillor Stewart. And seconder, Councillor Lauriston. All in favour? Unanimously carried. Thank you. Item 3, the Noosa Cultural Plan.
Hello, how are you?
Hello,
Hi,
Tracy.
One for both.
Pardon?
Questions? Comments? Stay with silence. Councillor Wilkie was only commenting earlier how much we'd achieved in the cultural plan.
Well, how much you'd achieved. Yeah.
Thank you. It's impressive, isn't it?
Councillor Stockwell, you've got.
I was just interested. I'm pretty interested in the heritage side of things, and I was really surprised of what was the content in the hyperlinks. And I was just wondering, if I didn't know about that really great story about how the cod was caught, how many other people don't know that would like to? And I went and talked to our comms team. We do have a Mind Back Wednesday. Do we have a Hump Day Heritage or something? Because that information is great to have in the library, but the eco tours along the river, for example, is there some part of the plan that says, okay, we create the content, but how do we get it out there more? To be part of the understanding of the community of what our real heritage is.
So I think at the time that we launched those new films, we did quite a substantial promotional strategy. So we did, launches at the library, throughout Floating Land. I believe it's hosted on the council and the library websites. But definitely take your point. We could share the love again with the community through different channels.
Those links remain. Sorry, those links remain on the website.
They're active,
under the cultural or heritage page.
One of the purposes of changing the role, it's Jane's role, the heritage coordinator role, is so that more of that work can happen that's outside the library, so that there's work on linking tourism providers in with content. There's also the Heritage Month, which unfortunately this year fell by the wayside with COVID, but normally that month is a really good focus, and we find that a lot of organisations come to us to get content, and that's a way to actually distribute that content out through networks.
Question about the oral histories of significant local people. Tracy, are these transcriptions or are they video recordings? What form are they in, and how will people access them or know about them? It's great to hear these stories, people that have lived here a long time.
It is. My understanding is they are transcriptions, audio, not visual or video. I believe that Jane is planning to turn them into a format that is able to be loaned through the library collection. So it might be on a USB stick and created in a cover and loanable, similar to a library item, any other sort of library item.
So, and would they be suitable for a link that people could just click on and listen? Is there any problem with that?
No, we clear copyright with them. So you'll recall that one of the initiatives that we had through the budget process was for the online heritage portal. So it is able to handle bringing together what we call rich content. So an oral history can go from many hours. So what we do is they then take slices of that content and package it with some video or some photographs to bring the content alive. That's what this heritage portal will enable us to do. So we can start to create what are called digital stories. Take parts of content from different areas, put it together so that it comes alive.
Use the heritage podcast.
Things like that, because as a start to finish, an oral history goes on and on and on, but there will be absolute slices of gold in there.
Cutting to the chase.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just want to make note, I enjoyed reading the notes that you guys provided, particularly the impact of COVID on the culture sector, and I think we need to be reminded of how much this sector is actually being impacted, from venues being closed to out of work actors, and the fact, and that was the reminder you gave us, a lot of these people employed in this sector actually aren't eligible for job seeker. So I think what we can do as a council to support the cultural sector is really important and should be recognised as such. And also you reminded me again at how during these tough times, how culture connects us. So thank you, the reading was really good.
Tracy, you might want to make mention about the grants that have just been released, and we've just got some information today, which is going to provide some assistance for that sector.
So unfortunately it's been quite a delayed response from the government to provide some support to this sector. But the good news is they have just released some funding to revitalise predominantly the live music and performing arts sector. So there is funding that I think I only found it this morning. We had news a couple of weeks ago it was coming. And there is funding towards performing arts venues to be able to deliver a 6-month program of specifically live original music. There is also some funding, I think it's Creative to Go, that individual artists, art organisations and venues are able to apply for just to help boost their industry, getting back into getting some work, locating some venues for them to perform in. So that's very exciting. So we started looking at that this morning, and we're hoping to promote that throughout the community and help support anyone interested in writing applications. So Fantastic. It's really exciting news. Finally. Yeah.
It's very pertinent during COVID how you just mentioned that the performing arts venues have shut down. I noticed one of the priority areas in the 2019 action plan was to help visual and performing artists understand how they can operate home-based businesses within existing planning and regulatory frameworks. It seems really pertinent now. So is this where to from here for that priority? It seems like it's very relevant.
So I have had an initial meeting with economic development to understand how we'll move forward with this. So our priority will be on this sector for this financial year, and gaining a greater understanding of the actual impact. When you look at the statistics, they do group the arts and recreation services together, so it's very difficult at a local level to understand the significant impact that has happened here. So I'll be working or the working group for the cultural plan will be working very closely with economic development to understand the local impact. They already run a series of different workshops to help support this sector in home business or related topics. But this will be our emphasis this year.
I think when we did the original consultation for the cultural plan, it was interesting to us that a number of people in that sector were of the view that if they did something from home, they would be breaching something. And they, in fact, didn't even want to ask the question for fear that they were breaching something. And so, in fact, they could actually be legitimately running small operations from home, but it had not occurred to them to actually ask the question about what they could do. And so it was quite fascinating. So, often a lot of that sector, they're going from week to week, just trying to keep things going, and they do it whatever way they can. I guess the good aspect about that is that within the town planning framework, there's already provision that is there for them. It's about us helping educate them about what they can do and saying, put up your hand and ask the question. That's where it starts.
There are performances happening in backyards and driveways already.
Yeah, that's right.
Outside
so
of
many
theatres.
people turn to the digital medium to deliver performances. That was a wonderful thing to see, that people could still deliver their either art or performance in some way, shape or form to a greater audience by using that digital medium, and not locking themselves away to the point where they're getting frustrated and not being able to undertake their art form.
I'm looking forward to doing an audit to find out, what changes have occurred within our local communities, what venues still exist, I guess, and what new platforms are available for this sector to share their artwork.
And so you've mentioned that an audit of existing public performance spaces to identify new spaces and or maximise existing spaces available for artists to perform. You mentioned also small performing or exhibiting spaces. So you're intending to discover a few over and above those that we already know of, or
I think
what's the scope of the audit?
I think partially it's understanding how much have we lost, because we're aware that we will have lost venues, and is it a temporary loss or is it a long-term loss? Then it will be trying to identify those small ones, like you say, there's small ones occurring, to understand what is the nature of that and what does an audience want going into the future. Obviously performing arts can be sensitive, particularly live music, where some people love it, want to see it in their community, other people think that it disturbs peace, etc. It's trying to find that happy medium, because we know that the small venue is a very good stepping stone for our up and coming artists, and it's a really good fit for an area like Noosa, which we revolve more around small niche operations, not large scale. So the starting point always for looking at what comes next is to understand what we've got at the moment.
And I'm hoping that will roll into a collaborative project with Regional Arts Network Queensland and Creative Alliance, where we'll do the audit and develop a mentoring program where we can help this sector not only discover where they can perform or work essentially, but also have some support in actually building their skill set, either creating a record or a track record, or maybe getting into a regional tour through the festivals, or so there's lots of possibilities.
The other thing I'm excited about here is the wood-fired ceramics from Karoi region travelling exhibition. You want to develop that up. How far afield would you tour that?
So Michael Brennan, our gallery director, is leading that initiative, so I don't have the specifics about that today, but I can find more information for you. But I know pre-work has already started with the artist on this. And
the artist or artists?
Is it? I was trying to think of his name just before.
Rolly.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know, is it a sole exhibition?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, thank
I'll
you.
find
I've had a few.
Just one more thing. Under the action plan, there's a mention of, and we've spoken a little bit about it, auditing existing public performance spaces. Will you include in that places like tunnels and places where, and I've spoken to Kerry about this before, are places where the youth in particular can exhibit graffiti art?
We've had this conversation.
Yeah, so is that
Yeah.
part of the audit process?
It would be more part of when we do the public art policy.
Okay, separate.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So
But great,
that
we're all on
kind
the
of-
same page.
Went down that tunnel and just trying to
So
get
art,
It'd be
art in
good.
public places.
It'd be good acoustics for a performance art.
Yeah.
And performance, absolutely. Yeah, as long as I'm not singing. Yeah, terrific.
So absolutely, that sort of consultation would occur when we do that piece of policy work.
Excellent.
Public art is often thought of as being a sculpture, but actually it encompasses a broad range of things. Yeah.
Well,
Right, you had another.
That's a perfect segue to my question, which was, it's around the concept of what we do next in how we plan for public space art and performance. And it's about, when I looked at last year's implementation plan and this year's, I presume what we've done is we've listed all the actions in the plan and just ticking the ones we're doing, where what I didn't see in this year's implementation plan, say in place and space.
Yep.
Last year we did the review and decided to do a placemaking strategy, but nowhere are we committing that we're actually going to do a placemaking strategy in this year's implementation plan. And I think that's something we might want to look at. We actually, good, let's say what new we're going to do with culture in terms of implementing the culture plan, but I also think we need to have a line of sight through to the implementation of some of those reviews. And you might, for me, in an implementation plan, you want to see complete a minimum of one public placemaking strategy and have public art, etc., in there that links it all up.
I guess yes, it's that where does it now sit once the piece of work starts here? I think you do,
because we do intend to implement the pilot program this financial year. So thanks very much. I'll add that.
Heading to the next one. Karen?
Oh yeah, thank you everybody. Thank you for the work you and your staff have done. That's great. Just leading off the back of those conversations around the public arts policy.
You don't need to stand, Karen.
Oh, sorry.
You're not at the table.
Might be useful to come a little bit
Come
forward.
a bit closer if you like. But
That's good. Yep.
So regarding the draft public arts policy, my question was, you've got it listed under actions needing closer attention. It's one of the ones in the 15% that require that attention. So it's to be developed with community consultation. I'm just wondering where you're at with that development and how much community consultation has taken place.
none. Do you want?
Sure. Last financial year, we started with doing an audit of public art within the Shire and identified priority works that needed repair and took on board any feedback from the community that had been given to us about damaged public artworks. So that was our focus last financial year. We haven't begun the consultation as yet.
Have you got a date that may commence?
No, I was waiting for this meeting to gain your approval for the next action plan, and I'm looking forward to working through that this year with you all.
Terrific. Thank you.
The consultation for art in public places or public art policy is normally very extensive. You will have a lot of stakeholders with very different perspectives, and then there'll be general community perspective as well. So it's quite a big piece of work. There were some pieces of public art, the sculptural public art, that required some pretty serious attention. So the decision was that in the first year, get the house in order before we roll out a policy that says where we might go to next.
And that sort of understanding of how well public art that we've got out there stands up under the weather and all of the influences on public art, like graffiti and stuff like that occur would be a lead into a public art policy as to what we would accept in the way of what they're manufactured from and things like that to withstand
It's
the
also
elements and that to some degree. But
learning lessons.
Yeah.
So you put a piece of public art in, you really need good contracts around it to govern if a repair has to occur to it. How is that going to happen?
End of life.
End of life is a
That's
huge issue.
Yeah.
A piece of,
and who would undertake repair work because
That's right.
Well, lucky we've got Michael Brennan here with his expertise, so that's.
yes,
Absolutely.
it's very good in that space.
Look, for me, I mean, the highlight is the highlights. I think it's been a phenomenal achievement for the year. I think there's some great achievements in our art, cultural and heritage sphere for the year gone past. And particularly pleasing to see public art being mentioned in there. Also thrilled to see Floating Land again last year. And I'm looking forward to it in 2021. And the numerous highlights here with the plan going forward this year, and I see the 2021 implementation action plan. What are some of the things that we can look forward to?
To the next floating land?
No, to the next in the next financial year.
In the next financial year.
With regard to the arts and heritage, with delivery from the cultural plan.
Oh, okay.
What are the highlights?
What are the highlights that we're looking forward to?
Yeah. So obviously the floating land and the focus around the performing arts and live music industry. I'm really looking forward to finding some initiatives and strategies to revitalise that sector. I guess with my, library background, I'm very excited about the new initiative about the Seed Library program. I'm not sure if you're aware of that as yet. The Noosa Library Service was recently awarded $25,000 through State Libraries Strategic Priorities grant funding opportunities to develop a seed library, very similar to a book collection, but it will be a seed library collection.
As in native plant seed?
Yeah, okay. So which is, I feel is very relevant after our bushfires. It is a collaborative project with the local permaculture team, where we'll be inviting people to come in and take seeds and attend a series of different educational workshops on how to grow, how to plant seeds, sorry, I lost my train of thought. So that will be a 12-month program over the next year, which is pretty exciting.
Can you engage the schools with that, Tracy?
Yeah, that's definitely part of the plan.
Yeah, having school excursions to come and.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yes, so we want it to be as collaborative as possible in the community. So that's one of the exciting ones. We're updating our gallery and library websites this year, and part of that will be the heritage portal, which will be very exciting, and have wanted to progress that for a number of years. They're the key ones, I think.
Wonderful. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tom, sorry.
Just one little comment. I'm very excited about the SEED program. With the cultural heritage, just a much bigger thought, but it seems as though a big part of our heritage is the land, the bush care, the land care, the planting, and so forth. And although that's definitely a different subject, because that's bush care and so forth, it's still a huge part of our cultural heritage as well. So I love everything that's going on here, but in the future, I might make suggestions about going towards a more recent cultural heritage of the plantings and like the Ural Forest, for example, that planting as being an arts project and a cultural heritage project, as well as an economic and bush care thing.
So you see from the cultural plan that one of the key aspects is around telling Noosa's unique story, particularly from the 1960s through to now, which is very different from other local government stories. And part of that is around the deep connection to environment and the relationships with the different environmental organisations and the works that's being done in that space. So you will continue to see capturing those stories. That was one of the reasons around the attention on capturing oral histories before those stories were lost, the key stories. And you know, we are approached by many organisations, universities, you know, academic institutions around the world, research bodies, for that material, because it's so different from other
Well, talking to our local bush carers, they discovered a rare species that's around, and they've been collecting seed and trying to propagate that from seed collected locally. So that still goes on. We're still discovering local plants that are rare in our region. So it's wonderful. Ryan, I'm not sure. Landcare do seed collection and storage and capture of.
What I heard from you, it's also about growing food.
It is,
which
absolutely.
Extremely, obviously, many people like myself have taken the last few months to grow much more than they used to.
Hence the permaculture connection there as well.
So it links.
Anything further?
Tracy, earlier on you mentioned funding opportunities for performing artists and those groups involved in that sort of space. Are we able to, when you're able to you locate that information, can you send it through to us, please?
Absolutely,
There's a lot of
yes.
interest in that.
Yeah,
where will people be able to access it? I mean, we can send it out, but is it?
Arts Queensland.
There's been a couple of announcements over the last few weeks. I think the federal government announced something in the last week or so as well.
So we just today seeing something tangible with names of programs.
So check the Arts Queensland website.
Yes, I'll send you the link.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
One last. Oh, sorry.
No, you're at the table here. I'm the chair, not him.
Okay. Just one last question. So we're talking cultural plan. How about cultural tours? I think what you guys have highlighted in your report, and what I'm learning as a new councillor over the last 3-4 months, is that we are actually a cultural destination, and I think that's sometimes overlooked. So is that an area that you guys are focusing on?
That's certainly why there is an economic stream to the cultural plan. So often people see them as two separate things, but you've absolutely hit it on the head. They're not. You can look at many destinations around Australia and they're seen as cultural destinations, and Noosa is one of those. You'll look at things like Noosa Open Studios and the growth year on year in that. And the attraction that is not just for locals, but now people plan their holiday to come to Noosa so they can be here for those weekends for Noosa Open Studios. So our challenge going forward is how that's effectively marketed, and being able to build more into that. One of the big issues also is how to effectively get product to market. That's one of the missing gaps for a lot of our artists. They're very good at product creation. They're not so good at that next step of getting product effectively to market, particularly in the current environment.
And that's certainly some tourism ministry looking into, is that experiential tourism.
Yes.
Particularly some of the options there in terms of cultural history with
Absolutely.
That's what people are after when they travel. It's their own experience. That's a real opportunity.
Right.
Mine was just the thinking that I've got just from sitting here listening, and over the last few weeks, months, we've been looking at shovel-ready packages for stimulus grants. I'm wondering whether it's probably not a bad idea to have a look, whether it's stimulus from another level of government or our own, what a shovel-ready project might look like in terms of things like performance in the park. So we might have a lot of venues where they can't operate financially because of the separation distance inside, but they might have productions or other things that are ready to go, that maybe bring them out into the community in open air settings is something that, you know.
And we may have, obviously we've got our RDF funding, but we're awaiting the announcement of the state around that. But like our community project funding, we can target that towards COVID related outcomes. So RDF would be one way of doing that. I think one of the programs that you've had come through this morning is very much around performance and where performance can occur.
You know, like the whole drive-in theatre things come back now.
Anything further?
Thank you.
I'm with it.
So Second. Thank you, Councillor Stewart. Councillor Williams.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Tracy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Terry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thanks, Tracy.